I fell under a speeding train. What happened next changed everything. I had nothing. No qualifications. No career. No plan. Just a life that had been quietly falling apart for years, and a stubborn, nagging feeling that somewhere out there, things were supposed to be different. In 2006, I was standing on a train platform in Cambridge, England, saying goodbye to a woman I cared about. It was supposed to be a 2-second moment, a hug, a kiss, the kind of thing you don't even remember the next day. My coat got caught in the closing doors, and then the train started moving. What happened in the next few minutes should have killed me. I was dragged along the platform, pulled beneath the carriage, and sucked under a speeding train with no way to stop it. By the time surgeons got to me, my body was shutting down. But somewhere between the accident and the operating table, something happened to me that no doctor has ever been able to explain. When I woke up, I could compose classical symphonies. I had never studied music a single day in my life. My name is David Ditchfield, and this is what I saw when I died. I want to be honest with you about the person I was before the train, because I think it matters. I grew up in Bromsgrove, Worcestershire. School was a disaster from the beginning. I was severely dyslexic. Nobody diagnosed it for years, so I just sat in classrooms, feeling stupid, while everyone around me seemed to understand things I couldn't grasp. I left school with almost no qualifications. One, that was it, just one. The only course open to me was learning to draw letters for advertisements, which, if you think about it, is a cruel thing to offer a dyslexic kid, but that's what there was. So I moved to London, the way you do when you have no plan, but feel like something better has to exist somewhere other than where you are. I played guitar in rock bands. I co-wrote a couple of songs, one of them with Kevin Rowland. I thought music might be the thing. It wasn't. The band ended. The money ran out. I drifted into manual labor just to survive, and then the alcohol became a problem. I don't say that to dramatize it. I say it because it's true, and because it's part of the picture. I was a functional alcoholic in a city that doesn't slow down for people who are losing ground. I was about to be evicted from my apartment. The life I had vaguely imagined for myself had not materialized. The one I actually had was getting smaller every year. I wasn't a monster. I wasn't hopeless. I was just lost. The kind of lost that doesn't feel dramatic from the inside. It just feels like Tuesday, and then Wednesday, and then another week passing without anything changing. In the days before the accident, I left London to stay at my sister's place. I needed to get grounded, figure out what came next. A woman named Anna came to visit, and I went to see her off at the station. That's where it happened, at a train station, during a goodbye. I helped Anna with her luggage, stepped onto the train briefly, then back off onto the platform. We were saying goodbye, a hug, a kiss. One of those ordinary moments that feels like nothing when you're in it. As I stepped back, my long coat caught in the closing doors. I grabbed it, tried to yank it free, but the doors had sealed and I couldn't get the coat off fast enough. And before I could do anything else, the train began to move. I was pulled forward, then harder. The train was picking up speed and I had no control over what was happening to my body. I was being flung along the platform like a rag doll, the concrete rushing past me, people on the platform watching in horror. I remember the noise. I remember the blur of motion. I remember having no thoughts, just the animal, physical reality of being dragged and not being able to stop it. And then I went under. I was sucked into the narrow gap between the train and the platform edge, and suddenly I was on the tracks with the train passing over me, carriage after carriage. The sound was enormous, an overwhelming mechanical roar filling everything. I pressed myself down as far as I could go, trying to keep my body as flat as possible against the track. Something strange happened at that moment. The panic stopped. I know that sounds wrong, but it did. There was nothing left to do except endure the next few seconds. And in a strange way, that simplicity, no choices, no options, just survive, was almost clarifying. I felt calm. I focused on pressing myself down. I breathed. The last carriage passed over me. The noise dropped away. I lay on the tracks and realized I was still alive. And then the pain hit me all at once. My arm had been catastrophically injured in the dragging, the bone destroyed, the tissue torn. I was rushed to hospital in a serious condition. Surgeons prepared to operate. I went under the anesthetic, and I never quite came back the same person. The pain left first. I don't mean it faded, I mean it stopped. One moment it was consuming everything, and the next, it simply wasn't there. And with it went everything else I had been carrying. The shame about drinking, the weight of years of failure, the low-level exhaustion of being someone who hadn't figured it out yet. All of it, gone. In an instant, like it had never existed. I was moving through light. I need to be careful here about how I describe this, because the word light doesn't quite cover it. What I moved through wasn't like sunlight or a lamp or anything I had seen before. It was alive. It had a quality to it, a warmth, a presence that felt like it was coming from somewhere fundamental, like the origin of something. Not a reflection, but a source. I came through it into a place I still don't have adequate language for. There were beings there. I'll describe them the best I can. They were figures of light, not people exactly, not the way I understood people. They had no hard edges. They radiated something that I can only call warmth, except it wasn't temperature. It was more like being known. That's the closest I can get. They looked at me, and I felt completely, entirely known. Not judged, not evaluated, known. And here is the thing that broke me open. The thing I have thought about almost every day since. Every part of my life was visible to them. Every failure, every moment of drinking too much, every time I had been selfish or small or cruel, everything I was ashamed of. And none of it was held against me. That's not the world I had been living in. In the world I came from, your failures defined you. Your record followed you. But in this place, all of it was seen, all of it. And the response was simply, you are loved. Not in spite of what you are, because of it. All of it, including the broken parts. I asked if I could stay. The answer, communicated not in words, but in something more direct than words, was no. Before I was sent back, I was shown something. Not a vision exactly, more like a reorganization of time. Everything I had ever done, every moment of my life, seemed to be present at once, not playing out in sequence, but simply there. And what I saw, in that totality, was that the moments that mattered were not the ones I would have expected, not achievements, not the times I had something to show for myself, the quiet moments, the moments of real connection, a time I listened to someone who needed it, a time I chose another person's comfort over my own. Those were the moments that were lit up. Everything else, the striving, the reputation building, the things I had worried about and wanted and chased, those barely registered. And then I crashed back. That's the only word for it. Not a gentle return, a collision. All the pain of my destroyed arm came back in a single wave, and I was on an operating table, and surgeons were working, and I was alive. I woke up in a hospital bed, and something was different. Not just in how I saw the world, though that had changed completely. Something was different in what I could do. The first thing was painting. I picked up a brush while I was still recovering and began putting onto canvas what I had seen on the other side. I had no formal training. I had no real history with visual art. But what came out was vivid, luminous, technically accomplished in ways I had no right to be. Images of light and form and color that captured something of what I had experienced. Not perfectly, because nothing could, but accurately enough that people who saw them stopped and stared. I didn't understand it. I kept painting. Then the music started. I began hearing it, full orchestral compositions in my head, not fragments, not melodies, but complete, structured arrangements. Strings, brass, woodwind, all of it layered and coherent. I had played 3-chord guitars in punk bands in London. I had never studied music formally. I cannot read a single note of musical notation. I cannot write one. To this day, I cannot. And yet the music was there, complete and insistent, and I needed to get it out. I worked with others to transcribe what I was hearing, to translate what was coming out of me into something that could actually be performed by real musicians. It was painstaking. It was unlike anything I had ever attempted. I had no vocabulary for what I was doing, but the music itself was clear. My debut symphony, The Divine Light, premiered at a sold-out orchestral concert. The audience stood up. I sat in that concert hall and listened to something that had come from whatever I had witnessed between life and death, played back to me by a full orchestra, and I still don't fully have words for what that felt like. I went on to compose 2 more symphonies and a rhapsody. Every single premiere sold out. The Cambridge Clarinet Choir commissioned a new work from me. My paintings were exhibited for an entire year at the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. None of this was supposed to be possible for someone like me, a dyslexic kid who left school with one qualification, a man who had been a manual laborer, struggling with alcohol, on the edge of losing his apartment, with no particular gifts and no clear future. And yet the proof is real. You can sit in a concert hall and hear it. You can stand in a gallery and look at it. Something came back with me, and it left evidence. The alcoholism ended, after the experience. Not through a program, or a decision, or a struggle. It simply fell away, the way the pain fell away when I left my body. It was no longer part of who I was. The directionlessness ended too. For the first time in my life, I knew what I was supposed to be doing, and I could not stop doing it. What I know now, from what I saw on the other side, is this: time works differently there. The way we experience it here, one moment after another, a line with a past and a future, that's not how it actually is. On the other side, everything is present at once. And when you can see your whole life like that, what matters becomes undeniable. The love you gave, the moments you were truly present for another person, the quiet, unglamorous acts of kindness that the world never noticed and never rewarded. Those are the things that last. Love isn't just an emotion. On the other side, it felt structural, like gravity, like the thing that holds everything together, the most real thing, more permanent than anything physical. I wrote a book called Shine On. I wrote it because I felt I had to, because what I brought back wasn't just mine to keep. The paintings, the music, the experience itself, they weren't for me. They were something I was given to pass on. I know how that sounds. I know how all of this sounds. I know I am a man who left school with one qualification, who was struggling and lost and going nowhere, and who now stands in concert halls listening to orchestras perform music that came to him after he died under a train. I don't have a way to make that easier to believe, but it happened. I was there, and the proof is in the music, which you can hear, and in the paintings, which you can see, and in the fact that I am still here at all. Whatever is on the other side of this life, it is not nothing. I know that now, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to pass that on.